All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of the Agency Freedom Podcast. We help insurance professionals move from captivity to freedom. Welcome to those that are watching on YouTube. I'll just give you the good old-fashioned salute. And if you're listening on any of the podcast channels, then good old-fashioned welcome to you. And you can just listen to that welcome because you can't see me. So our guest for this episode is Mr. Maverick Pitchford. And we have been trying to connect for darn near 6 months now. He's canceled once. I've canceled once. We just keep on missing each other like ships in the night. But here we go. And we're just going to jump right in because Maverick is an agent from a little town outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma. He used to be a farmer's agent, which we'll get into here in a little bit. This is no agenda, no talking about some vendor company or InsurTech or whatever. It's just a couple of agents having a nice little chat. So, Maverick, welcome to the show, man.
Well, man, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited. Anytime I can get on and talk to future agents in the process of making the switch, I think it's super valuable because just a few years ago, that was me, and I was so scared and looking for every piece of information I could have. So anything I can do to help, I'm excited to do so.
Dude, like people like you are exactly why this podcast is a thing. People like you are exactly why I wrote the book, Leaving Captivity, because this podcast didn't exist when I went and left my captive journey and went independent. And no, I know we're going to have a great conversation here. Why don't we start with Maverick, the person, then we'll get into Maverick, the insurance agent, business owner, whatnot, and then talk about Bison Ridge and what you guys were up to. Why don't you kick us off with your backstory? Feel free to share whatever you want. Family, hobbies, interests,
Yeah.
Background, whatever you want, man.
Yeah, it's that's an interesting question because I think as an entrepreneur, it's very easy to get those two intertwined so much that you feel like that's
Yeah,
not
that's
a
why I
different
asked
thing.
that question the
Yeah,
way I
that's
did.
great.
It
That's
forces you
great.
to answer it in a personal context
Yeah, yeah,
instead of
yeah.
what you're doing at your agency.
Yeah, exactly. So I am 27 years old. Have lived in Northeast Oklahoma my entire life. Grew up in a small town and went off to college with my now wife. We knew we wanted to move back home and kind of start a business. So that was kind of the whole plan. In that time, COVID happened. We've had 3 kids. A lot of life has happened. And my wife and I were just talking the other day. 4 years seems like it's been 25
Wait,
years.
three kids in 4 years?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I have a
You
4 year
guys
old.
got a little busy with COVID, huh?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
A lot
So
of sitting around.
yeah, we had our first in 2020. He's 4, and then 2 years after we had twins. So they're all boys. I have
Oh,
twins that are
wow.
2 years old. So my life is chaotic at all points.
Wow. 3
Yeah,
boys under 4.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Where'd you
It's
guys go to school?
so went to high school in Quita, and then moved off to Oklahoma State, over in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Um,
Stillwater.
yeah,
Yeah.
my wife graduated. I did not. We got married in school, and someone had to start working, so I got to wear that lucky hat. Um, I
It's
kind of
just a piece of
realized,
paper, man.
yeah, exactly, and I kind of realized that I was going to school just to go to school. I knew I always wanted to own my own business, and so
Yeah.
just getting out in the workforce was the best thing for me. So
Dude,
that's
some of
exactly
the
what I did.
most successful, wealthiest, happiest people I know are working in residential service industry and they barely graduated high school.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and they are multi millionaires and have more free time than both of us put together.
yeah. It's a cool kind of stage that we're in because my wife's an educator. She went to school to be a teacher, and so she's very big on education, right? And for the first 4 years of my insurance career, she was, once you get to a point you're going to go back to school, I really want you to finish your degree. And over the last 6 months or so, I can kind of feel that waning off. You start to show that you're really going to be successful. You're building something that's going to provide for your
Yeah.
family and create a future. And it's like, well, that degree is not as important as I thought it was. Of course, she's still really big on education as a teacher, but it's kind of
Yeah.
it's cool for me to see to a point where I've proven that she's like, oh, he doesn't need to go back to school. He's going to be successful.
Dude, I don't see that as a liability for you at
Yeah,
all.
yeah,
I know you probably don't either at this point, and now that you
yeah,
had a few years of owning your own business off the ground.
yeah, yeah.
No, it's kind of interesting when you see somebody with a master's degree and 3
Mhm,
professional certifications. I don't really care. They're just
mhm,
pieces of paper. Like what you
yeah,
do is what matters.
yeah, yeah. It's all
Awesome.
about
I'm interrupting you. I'm
no, you're
talking
good.
here.
You're
It's
good. You're
supposed to be
good.
your story. All
No,
right.
you're
So you
good.
guys have 3 kids in 4 years.
Hmm.
You go off to school and then you decide you're going to be an entrepreneur. What then?
Yeah. So moved back to Coweta, and COVID kicked off right about the same time we moved back.
Mm,
I guess it was a little bit before that. We moved back, and I started working at a local bank here, a big regional bank that we have. called Bank of Oklahoma.
Yep.
And I
Be
realized,
okay.
be okay. That's right. I realized pretty quickly that Mr. Kaiser, the family that owns the business, the bank, was not stepping aside to let me take over. And I always knew I wanted to own my own business, right? So I was like, I got to figure something else out. Just started praying about it, talking to the Lord, and just kind of seeing where He was going to lead me. And this lady kept coming into my till at the bank, and giving me her deposits and stuff. And I saw it said farmers, and finally, I just got the guts to ask, how do you get involved in insurance? And she was like, well, give me your card. I'll have my district manager
Oh,
reach out
that's
to
the
you.
question.
Yeah.
She started salivating right in front of you, didn't
Yeah,
she?
yeah. So I was like, I gave her my card. I didn't even think anything of it, honestly. Funny enough, I just remember this a couple months ago when I was talking to Aaron Gordon on his podcast, that I actually gave her the wrong business card. And so she gave the district manager this other guy's business card, and he had been texting me for a week or week and a half or so, saying the wrong name. And I was like, what is this? Who is this dude texting me? And finally I connected the dots, and I was like, oh, he's trying to reach out to me about the insurance thing. So that's just kind of a funny side note that I started off
That's
on.
hilarious, man.
Yeah,
Goodness.
yeah. So that was January of 2020. And I know this date specifically, obviously, because of my license and everything.
Yeah.
February 14th of 2020, which was actually my birthday, I was out of the bank, fully licensed, working at a farmer's agency. So in a month and a half, I decided, I'm going to take a jump at this and kind of go at it.
Jeez,
So
bro.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
all gas, no brakes, huh?
all the time, all the time. I think that I tell people all the time, like when I talk to local people who ask about starting business really young, I was just naive enough not to know what I was doing, and I think it was the same thing with
Man,
insurance.
I love it.
I was 23 at the time, and so it was like the bank is not going anywhere. They're always hiring the position I'm in. So if it doesn't work out, I'll come back in a year. And so it
Yeah,
was something that it really helps the fear aspect of it, because it is a scary step.
it absolutely is, man.
Yeah.
And there's so much power in ignorance of not having any
Yeah.
idea that you can't do it. So you
Yeah.
just do it.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
love it.
Yeah. And
Cool.
so I worked at Farmers for technically, I guess I was there almost a year and a half. I did
So
their
you were a
protege
producer
program.
there, I'm guessing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I did their protege program. So I went through the protege
Oh,
program, and you have a year to complete that. This is not a brag, because it was not a big standard to meet now that I look back, but
bro,
I
the
completed.
protege is like itty bitty.
Yeah.
It's like sell 20 policies. You did it. Good
Yeah,
job.
yeah. But when you're first starting, you're like, whoa, I can't believe I completed that. That's crazy. So I
Yeah.
completed that in like 6 months, and they gave me my own agency, or I opened my own scratch agency at Farmers. And I had that scratch agency for 8 or 9 months. I would say about 6 months into that, I realized that the writing was on the wall, that I needed to go independent. Um, Getting into insurance, I always knew that independent was the way I wanted to go. I just needed
Oh, yeah.
a way to get to it, right? So I used Farmers as that gate. I did not think it was going to be 9 months into my insurance career that I would go independent, but it was. And so
Yeah. Love it.
I very much realized that I was, like I said, 24 at that time, and thought, I don't want to keep growing a book of business with a captive agency if I know I'm eventually going to exit anyways. So let's just go ahead and pull the Band-Aid off and go. And so at
Yep.
24, I opened Bison Ridge Insurance, and that was 3 years ago, and we're rocking and rolling now ever since then. So
Love it.
yeah.
So I'm going to hit my little whoosh button there and ask you, what's the deal with Bison Ridge? Is it a Coweta thing? Like where'd the name come from?
Yeah, so Bison Ridge is something that has kind of come together through a couple different talking points that I've had. I went to a couple different seminars, and it's funny enough, I was actually at youth camp with our church as a sponsor, and they had a guy come in and speak to us, and I'd heard the adage of how bison attack storms, those type of things, and he did a whole sermon on it to like the leaders at the church camp, and I was sitting there and I was like, that's it, like that's what I want to name my business, and so we named it Bison Ridge Insurance, because of the fact that we want our clients to understand that insurance is something that comes into effect whenever there's hard times going on, and we attack the storm head on. So whatever, if that could be a literal storm, right? A storm that came
Yeah.
through town, we're going to be the first ones in line. We're going to be the first ones there to kind of help out, or a figurative storm, a rate increase, those type of things. But Bison Ridge Insurance are the ones that run out the storm and get through it quicker than anyone else. So that's exactly what we do
Love
here.
it.
Yeah.
The bison stuff makes perfect sense. How's the ridge come in?
So it was just something to kind of go with it. In my mind, it was
Sweet.
the imagery of, a bison sitting on top of a ridge.
Like
It gets
standing
through the
on a
storm.
hilltop or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I can
and I
dig
was very,
that. That's cool.
I was very specific on not naming it, Pitchford Insurance or Maverick Insurance because
Oh yeah.
I know that eventually I'm not going to be the forefront agent on this. I want to step
Yep.
away. I want to be the backside, and I don't need my name associated with that point.
Dude, last name insurance agency's time has come and gone. I
Yeah.
feel like anybody who is starting an agency in 2020 something and beyond and calling it last name insurance agency
Mhm.
is automatically putting a cap on their growth.
I
Because
completely agree.
you're never going to acquire the top shelf talent with your
Mhm.
last name on it.
Yeah. I completely
Unless you're
agree.
already a huge firm.
Yeah, and
Like,
it's those type of things that I want to. I don't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry, but
no, you're good. You're good.
I
Go
want to
ahead.
eventually, have satellite offices around the state and stuff. And having Pitchford Insurance isn't going to do anything. And I'm in a town of 8,000 people. A lot of people know me here. In
Yeah.
a town of 100,000 in Tulsa or a million in Oklahoma City, they're not going to know me. So my last name's not going to do any good. So I needed to make
Yeah.
a brand. So that's when I
What
did
you
it.
do, the way you serve your client, your reputation with lenders, and pick your channel partner. That's the only thing that matters.
Yeah, exactly.
Bravo, man. I
Appreciate that.
love the branding conversation. I think it's so important. I think so many people mess that up.
Definitely.
They don't think ahead of time. They don't think about scale when they're picking a name.
Yeah.
And the brand needs to have so much flexibility. Like if you build the right brand, you can build your marketing around your brand.
Right.
You don't have
Exactly.
to talk about insurance. You can talk about your brand as it relates to insurance in a way that people can connect with and feel like they own.
Right.
So, nobody cares about insurance. They care about being
No.
well protected.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody cares about the policy they buy. They want to make sure that somebody's going to have their back when they have a really bad day.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
and Bison Ridge, I like it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
appreciate that.
just the name with the story attached to it. Good job, man. That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
I appreciate
Love
that.
it.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
So what's your superpower? What is Bison Ridge really good at?
So I think that something we're really good at is meeting the clients where they want to be met. And I think that maybe not new agents struggle with that, but I'm in a town like I said of 8,000 people. We have probably 5 insurance agents that are really prominent here, and none of
Mm-hmm.
them meet the clients where they want to be met. And what I mean by that is, as a 27-year-old, no one around my age wants to come in the office and sign a document or talk on the phone. So I meet the clients where they want to be met on that end. I have a lot of
Yeah.
clients who are older and they do want to come in the office and meet me and sign the wet sign and do all of that. That's we have that flexibility too. So I think being able to be flexible for the client is really important. And something you said earlier about people don't care about the policy they're buying. I think one, they care about, like you said, the people that they're working with, and two, ease of the process, right?
Yep.
And so I think that as long as we can meet them where they want to be met, you're going to have a really good run at this thing. So.
I'm going to ask you some questions after we get through with story time.
Yeah.
One of them is going to be how that approach evolves for you as we proceed through the evolution of AI and automation and all of the technological things that are going to force people to evolve and have an effect on the client experience over time. We're going to have a whole part of the conversation after we get done with story time. So on the flip side of it, and let's just camp out here for a little bit. You're still early stage. You've got a lot in front of you. You've been doing this for 3, almost 4 years now. What's hard? What are the challenges you're facing? Because I love celebrating wins. Don't get me wrong. Celebrating wins is great. Talking about challenges and connecting with our audience on, hey, that person's struggling with the same things that I'm struggling with. Maybe we should hop on a call sometime and talk shop. The beauty of 2 fellow professionals just talking shop and kicking ideas around and bouncing, hey, what have you thought about blank? Maybe blank instead, whatever. That's the beauty of the interactions that podcasts like this tend to spawn. So what are you guys struggling with? What are you feeling like you're just having a hard time figuring out right now?
Yeah. When you first told me this question earlier, I was trying to think, and as you were thinking, like it came to my mind. It's like, oh, it makes complete sense. I think that we're struggling with being comfortable, and what I mean by that is, we have grown to a point where my family is taken care of. I'm growing to a point where we're growing steadily month after month, right? So comfortability comes in two kind of buckets in my mind. One, I think I'm comfortable with what I've been able to handle by myself and bringing on staff. I think I'm comfortable where I'm at, but I know I need to push myself to that next step before I
Yep.
can grow at any other point. And then secondly, and obviously we can get into each of these a little deeper, but
Oh yeah, we will for sure.
secondly is the marketing and what you kind of said about the Bison Ridge marketing. I think I have a really good brand that I can market, but I've said this a couple times now. I'm in a small town, and a lot of people know me from church. A lot of people know me from playing sports in high school. A lot of people know me because my wife's been a teacher here for so long. Those type of things. And so I've fallen back on not marketing as hard as I probably should have on the Bison Ridge brand, but we're planning on changing that, but it's still hard, right? Because it's like this has all been working for so long, like just community marketing, community networking. But I know to get to the next step to where I really am able to step away from the business, like I talked about, we
Yeah.
have to push past this little like we've hit a good point, but I need to go to the next peak. I need to go to the next next high point.
So I have to ask before we get into those two questions, those two things you brought up. Then you said there's about 5 agents in your town, and obviously you're one of them. So there's 4 others.
Yeah.
Have you reached out to the other 4 and said, "Hey, are you open to M&A conversation?"
I haven't. So there's out of the so including me, there's probably I said five, maybe seven, including me. A couple of them are captive. There's only two main independents. One, he can't stand my guts because I steal a lot of clients from him. And the other, we've never even actually talked. She has a really nice setup with her husband. Her husband's a big State Farm agent in Tulsa, and so she just writes the
Mm,
business he can't write. So
she's the feeder.
exactly, exactly. So I don't know
Okay.
where that conversation would go. It's something I'm open to.
It would go
I
nowhere. Is
yeah,
where it would go.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. But I definitely
She'd be
think
like,
that
"Who are you?" Okay,
yeah,
thanks. Bye.
yeah, exactly. So but
Oh
yeah,
man.
I think that growth is purchasing a book is something I do want to get into in the
Oh
future.
yeah.
It's just I don't know. I something else that kind of comes back to comfortability is I say I'm young. I'm getting older. Obviously, I'm 27 now, but I
Yeah, 27's older. I don't want to
yeah,
talk to you.
yeah,
27's older.
exactly. So I am very big on family. That's the biggest thing in my life, right? And I know a
Yeah.
lot of ages. That's not groundbreaking news or anything, but I fall
No.
back on, hey, I built this business to be with my family and spend time with my boys and my wife and everything. And so I'm okay growing a little bit slower than what maybe some other agents are, which honestly, like I'm okay with in the long run because I have a long growth period. Like I know I have a lot more years than maybe someone who gets in at 40 or 45 or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't want to keep saying that and then someday be 37 and be
Give
like, oh
yourself an
crap.
excuse to take your foot off
Exactly.
the gas pedal for a
Exactly.
while.
Exactly.
Because
Yeah.
once you take it off and the
Yeah.
kids are growing, you're doing other things and you're coaching sports teams and you're
Hmm.
serving on boards and commissions and, city council comes along and,
Yeah.
county commissioner and whatever. Next thing you know, you're very happy with a moderate pace of life and
Yeah.
you don't want to grind.
Exactly. Exactly. And I can feel myself falling into that. I have felt myself for the last, I don't know, 5, 6 months, maybe slowly kind of
Yeah.
falling into like, okay, it's okay if I write a little less business, and that's not something I'm proud of, but we really pushed for the first couple years, and so I can see why I felt that way, but I want to pull myself back out of that hole I'm starting to get myself into. So that would be the thing that I'm struggling with.
So for context, do you mind sharing where you're at as far as revenue and head count and stuff like that? It's very helpful.
Yeah, yeah. So premium size, book size, we're like 1.5 million.
Okay.
And which I know is not crazy, right? Not like do not think I'm the biggest agency
Dude,
ever.
you're in rural Oklahoma. Those are strong
Yeah,
numbers.
yeah,
What's your head
exactly.
count?
It's me and I had a VA, but I actually let my VA go 2 weeks ago because I had the realization that I'm never going to hire an in-person employee like I want to if I have a VA who's doing all my service work because Maverick is really good at selling the policies. She was really good
Mm-hmm.
at service work. And so I was
Mm-hmm.
very comfortable staying there. And so I've let my VA go and put it all back on my plate because I know if I make myself uncomfortable for the next couple months, I will push myself to the next point, kind of what I've been talking about. So
Yeah.
Just me right now.
So right now you're a solo operator?
I am. Yeah.
Dude, $1.5 million as a solo operator in 3.5 years? Decent.
Yeah. 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 I
Okay.
appreciate that.
Well done, man.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
No, that's I thought the way you were talking, you had people on staff, like you had
Mhm.
payroll to worry about.
Nope. No
Wonder you're feeling good. You got
Yeah.
1.5 of revenue all to yourself. So you're pulling down probably close to 200 grand a year with no payroll.
Yeah. We're doing really good. Especially whenever I went from working minimum wage to this in 3 years. It was,
Dude,
it's
you got to be
it's
feeling
good.
pretty good for yourself, man.
Yeah, and that's why I've fallen into the comfortability aspect of it, which, like I said, not proud of, but just know. I think that seeing it and knowing it is the first step to making the change of it, right? And so that's
Absolutely.
what I'm trying to do. So
Well, for context, we've been around for 5 years as of
Mhm.
April 1st.
Yeah,
And the only way we've been able to grow to where we are is I hire faster than I should, and I
yeah,
carry more payroll than I should.
mhm,
We're probably a little bit overstaffed,
yeah,
but we finished year one with, well, I should say the first 8 months we had about 980,000 in
that's
premium, but
awesome.
we're in the Dallas Fort Worth area, so it's not the same as
Yeah,
rural Northeast Oklahoma. You
yeah,
guys, I mean, Oklahoma's expensive for sure,
yeah,
but
yeah,
not
yeah.
Dallas
No,
expensive by
no,
any
no, no,
means.
no, no.
And just we put on between 2 and 3 million in premium a year
That's
for
awesome.
the last 5 years,
Yeah,
and we have myself and 9 employees,
that's
or sorry,
amazing.
8 employees. My wife's not an employee. 8 employees, not my wife.
Yeah.
There you go. I little slip of the
That's
tongue
a
there.
disclaimer you have to put in there, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm going to correct myself there for sure.
Yeah.
But one of the things that's different about Riskwell, and I'd love to hear your take on this with Bison Ridge. I imagine you're probably majority personal lines
Yeah.
because that's the way that Farmers trains everyone to be.
Yeah.
We sold our personal lines division February of 2023 and went
Okay.
100% commercial,
Wow.
and really haven't looked back. So
Yeah.
I don't ever want to put us in a conversation like comparing notes with somebody
Yeah.
because I mean, for the profile, we're going to be a whole lot different than most people just because we only have commercial, and
Mhm.
that's our volume is a lot lower than most agencies, but our average accounts are a lot more complicated. So,
Yeah.
um,
Right.
I say all that to say, we're sitting here at this point. We'll end this year probably 1.4 in revenue, somewhere around there. I think our total premium is probably about 12 or 13 right now. But every single time I start to think, "Oh, this is great," like we're starting to make it,
Mhm.
I just have to shake the entire tree and
Yeah.
force myself to hire the next person to
Yeah.
hit the next growth curve because I mean, it's so natural to go, "Yeah, this is good. I like my life. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I'll stop trying. Let me try at like 60% instead of 80 or 90%."
Yeah. Yeah.
I would just encourage you to find ways to challenge yourself
Mhm.
this month, this quarter, not even this year, but I mean, as a solo operator, golly, it is hard, man.
Yeah.
It's way too hard. You shouldn't be a solo operator. I know you know that. You're
Yeah. Yeah.
probably actively hiring right now, aren't you?
Yeah. We've started the hiring process. Yeah, like 2 weeks. I mean,
Good.
it was like
I'm
next day
happy.
after I hired fired the VA. Next day we started that process. So
You
we're
are
gonna
a
see how that goes.
brave man firing your first employee before you hire your second one.
Brave
Because
or
then you
dumb,
have
I
to
don't know which
train the
one that
second
is.
one.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Either
Uh,
brave or insane, one or the
yeah.
other. I don't know
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
one it is.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what they say
I
about
don't
that.
know yet either. I don't know yet either. So,
Oh my gosh.
but it's a like you said, it's very much shaking the tree, right? And I think that goes back to how I've approached this whole thing. I just jump in and we figure it out when we're there,
Yeah.
which can get you in trouble. But so far, it's not led me wrong. I'm sure eventually it will, but it's got me to the point where I'm at now, right? I jumped into insurance. I jumped into the
Yeah.
independent life, and it's just one of those things that we make it happen. I know that uh, you know Christ makes it all happen for me if I'm being 100%
Oh
honest
yeah.
with you. And as long as I know that I'm following in what He wants me to do and leading His guidance, um,
Yeah.
I know I won't go wrong. So
I mean, do justice, love mercy, walk humbly with your God. I
yeah,
mean, it's pretty simple.
yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, yeah. The the why is so important, man.
For sure.
If we lose sight of the why, then I mean, motivation goes away pretty quickly. The
Exactly.
grind gets to you a lot faster when you lose sight of your why.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd like to get in the weeds a little bit and ask you how you spend your time. Because with you
Yeah.
being a solo operator, and I'm sorry to put coach hat on for a
No,
second, I
you're
don't
good.
mean to do that at all. I'm just, talking shop among peers here. When you're a solo operator, the choices that you make with your time are probably the single most important choices because when I hire someone, or at this point, I don't even hire them. I don't interview them. Other people on the team are doing the interviewing and the hiring. I hire the producers. Everybody else is hired by other people. When I'm hiring someone, I'm buying their hours.
Yeah.
I'm buying their effort. When you're a solo operator, and let's be clear about it, a lot of people that listen to this podcast are solo operators
Yeah.
on the captive side, on the independent side, when they're still trying to get things off the ground.
Hmm.
So this next few minutes of the episode is probably super important for people that are in your shoes, man. So no pressure, but I'd love to hear how you are maximizing your productivity as a solo operator with the time that you choose to spend.
Yeah. I think that it's first by setting parameters of what you are important to you, right?
Yeah,
So I've designated like 5 buckets is what I call it, and I make sure I fill those buckets every day. And so we do that by time blocking. So the
yep,
5 buckets are service, um, calls, obviously because I'm making the calls to make the server or the sales, quoting,
yep.
networking, and then business improvement. And those are my 5 buckets. So I literally have a spreadsheet that I click on every day and say I filled that bucket today, I filled that bucket today, I filled that bucket, and then time blocking is how I make those buckets get filled. So we come in the morning. I get here. It's summertime, so my wife is off, so I get here a little bit later than what I usually used to. But I get here
Dude, I
around
get
nine.
that.
I get here around 9:30 ish. The first 30 minutes are spent cleaning up anything that didn't get cleaned up the day before. So that may be opening emails or text messages or anything that came in while we were closed at home, and setting the tasks that we need to do. And then the next 15 minutes is client reach out. So I reach out to a client every day, and just say, hey, thanks so much for being a client of ours. We just wanted to say thank you. If you need anything from us, please let us know. A lot of those calls don't get answered. And I was not the greatest when I first opened my agency asking for Google reviews. So at that point, I'm asking for Google reviews and using that as kind of a touch point for that.
Yeah,
After that, I go into an hour of service work and I just pound out any service work I have for that hour. That was a little different when I had the VA because she was doing it all. But the first hour of my day is service work because I hate service work and I want to get it out of the way as fast as possible. Um,
dude, I love that snowball effect. Good job,
yeah,
man.
yeah. So
Do
then
the
after,
sucky thing
oh
first.
yeah, 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 yeah. I think Billy Wagner always says, "Eat the frog first." You
Oh yeah,
eat the frog, you get it out of the way,
dude.
and
If
then
you're
you move
following
on.
Wags, you're on the right path, man. That dude's a monster. I love my time with him.
I lost you there for a second. I'm sorry. I don't know what you said.
No, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I can hear you.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I don't know if you ever heard the story. I ended up getting on an unintentionally longer hike than it was supposed to be with J.C. Wagaman and Billy Wagner and I
Really?
on the Flatiron Peak in outside of Phoenix. It's about 20 minutes east of Phoenix. I got dehydrated and lost, even though I brought like a gallon and a half of water.
Yeah.
It is a very difficult hike. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like bouldering at parts,
Wow.
and lost calcium and potassium in my legs, started cramping up real bad. A 4.5 hour hike turned into a 9 hour hike, and it was just the
Wow.
three of us, me and Billy and JC, on a mountain for 9 hours together. And it was a terrible, terrible experience. But the highlight, honestly, was spending time with JC and Billy. Like,
Yeah.
the three of us have a memory forever. But I mean, I had 9 hours of Billy Wagner one-liners, and just
Yeah.
talking shop and asking questions with this guy. I was like, man, I should get dehydrated more often. This was pretty
Yeah.
good.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Billy is someone who, when he talks, I listen every single time.
Oh,
Um,
100%. Yeah.
but so then the rest of my day is pretty simple. I mean, it's calls for an hour, hour and 15. Those go a little long just because sometimes, the little grandma that I call from church, she talks a little
Those are
longer.
supposed to go long. If any
Yeah.
part of your day goes long, it's your prospecting.
Yeah, exactly. Um, After that, we go to lunch. I get a workout in. I have it scheduled every day because I'm full believer. If I'm a team of one right now and I don't respect my time for the things that are important to me, like fitness and having some
Yep.
time at home, then no one else is going to when I'm a team of 10 like yourself, right? So I
Yep.
make sure I do that every day. And then after that, the rest of the afternoon is 4 hours or so of quoting. We just knock out as much quotes as we can. So yeah, I'm sure there's better ways to do it. I know that if I hired someone, I'd be a lot more efficient. And so that's what we're going to change here soon. But right now, that's how
Yeah.
I kind of have my day set up.
Well, I mean, it's beautiful the way that you have so much clarity when you're one activity blocking like you are.
Hmm.
And I don't believe in time blocking. I think activity blocking is where it's at. Because when you put the activity on the calendar, sometimes it takes an hour, sometimes it
Yeah.
takes 2 hours.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And so the whole idea of I am doing this on Tuesday morning,
Hmm.
and it might take an hour, it might take 2.5, who knows?
Yeah.
But for God's sake, I'm doing this right here on Tuesday
Right.
morning.
Yeah.
Now, that creates so much clarity when you bring that in-person team member, because you probably already figured it out for yourself. All they're doing is quoting and service.
Hmm.
That's it. Your
Yeah.
entire job is basic CSR. Answer the
Yeah.
phones, quoting, and service. There's your whole job. Enjoy your 40 hours a week.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I cannot tell you how excited I am until I have someone doing that for me because,
Oh, I believe it, brother. It
we're getting
wasn't
to the
that long
point.
ago I was the one answering the phones.
Yeah, definitely. And I actually had a moment this morning where I felt so ridiculous because in my system we have it automatically set up that 4 weeks or 3 to 4 weeks, I don't know the exact timeline, after the policy's bound, we reach out as a welcome call, right? Well, a
Yeah.
welcome call is supposed to come from your office manager. I don't have an office manager. So 3 to 4 weeks after I talk to the client, I call them again. But I guarantee you I'm going to follow through with that step because I know that if I do it, then I can hold my CSR that comes on board to do it. I can hold
Yep.
them accountable. And so the lady was like, it was just an awkward phone call. I don't really want to get into it, but she
Hi,
was like,
Maverick.
she was like, I just talked to you
I
about this
just talked
policy.
to you just a little bit ago.
I was like, I understand. I was like, but we just wanted, thank you for the business, that type of thing. But you just, get off the phone and move on. But it was just kind of funny that I was like, I can't wait till I have someone doing that for me.
May I suggest for the time being, like when you're doing those things, one of the favorite questions that we always ask at that point is, hey, just want to make sure you got all your documents. Have you got everything from the carrier you needed to get?
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Because by that point, it's a legitimate question, whether it's you or anybody else, doesn't matter who's asking the question.
Yeah.
It's still a good question to ask. Hey, do you have all of your documents? Do you have everything you need for this new policy you bought from us?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
Because
that way you
I
don't
just
feel
don't
like
want
a
my
goober.
clients to, and I don't want my clients to feel like a number because I feel like that's so easy for insurance to
Oh,
happen,
yeah. Well, yeah, but I mean, the whole like personal check-in thing is so important. And it needs to be by phone too, because
Mhm.
text and email. I mean, some people really hate phone calls,
Yeah.
but I
My
would
wife.
imagine in rural Oklahoma, there's probably a lot more phone calls than there are in
Yeah.
Dallas.
Definitely, yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. And I kind of have to know who I'm talking to too, right? If I'm calling the 27-year-old guy that I played football with in high school, he doesn't want to talk to me on the phone. So I'll call and leave a
It's a
voicemail.
text, yeah.
Yeah, leave a voicemail and then shoot a text because I know he doesn't want to talk to me. But when I'm talking to, Grandma Susan from church, she wants to
Yeah.
talk to me. She wants to ask me about my boys
Oh,
that
she wants to
saw.
talk all right for
Yeah, she wants.
45 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I've gotten really good at getting
She's
off
going
the
to tell
phone.
you all about her grandson's soccer team.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Dude, funny thing about me, just a quirk, I hate voicemail. I
Really?
hate listening to them. I hate leaving them. It literally, like, if you call my phone right now, it will tell you, if you leave me a voicemail, I probably won't hear it for months. I don't like voicemails. Text me, I'll get back to you.
Yeah, that's
It's
so
like,
funny.
don't leave me a voicemail. I hate
Yeah.
voicemails.
That's hilarious. I'm sure there's a lot of people like that. My wife's like that with phone calls. I mean, it's insane. She is terrified of talking on the phone.
Man, that's funny.
Yeah.
So we've got a few minutes left. We're about 33 minutes into our runtime now. I'd love to just get your take on some of the current events, things that are going on. You've already talked about remote work, so I imagine you're perfectly comfortable with the whole idea of virtual employees and whatnot. How do you feel about AI? Like, how is that going to impact your work? Your opinion here, Maverick, is really interesting for me because, one, you're in a rural area. You're born and raised in a smaller town than most. So you're a lot more blue collar than the average market in the country. How How do you feel about AI, and how does that impact your market? Obviously, it's going to take a while for things to migrate down to 8,000 person
Yeah.
city in the Midwest. Is it okay to call Oklahoma the Midwest? I feel like that's
I
all right.
I don't know. I like to consider it the South, but a lot of people don't consider it the South, so I don't really know. I think it's
I don't know if I
very
consider it the South. I'm going to be honest with you.
yeah, that's okay. I think it's very situational too. I think it's dependent on the town. I don't think Tulsa's the South, but I think Coweta is because of how people live.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I don't think Texas is the South either.
Well, that's
Texas is Texas.
good. Yeah, exactly. Texas is its own beast.
We don't subscribe to any region.
Yeah,
We're not Southwest or South Central or South
yeah,
or Texas.
yeah. You don't need a region. You are Texas.
We don't need
That's
no
awesome.
region.
Yeah. No, I think that I'm actually glad you asked for this. The AI thing. I use AI every day. I love it. I mean, I use it in every sense that I can. And I want to be the forefront of that for this community. I want to be the forefront of that for our region. I think that I've grown because I'm leaned into technology. I
Yeah.
have automation set up. I have all that stuff. I couldn't do what I do without that stuff. And it would be dumb for me not to try to use AI. And I know that none of the insurance agents in our region, in our area, not even my small town in Tulsa too, I don't think a lot of them are going to be leaning into that. And so
Mm,
I want to be at the forefront of that, and because I know that's going to put me ahead.
love it.
Yeah.
And when you think about technology, obviously the vendors that you use as a solo operator, as a small agency, the tech that you choose to deploy is super, super important.
hmm
Love to have you run down the core vendors that help you do what you do over there. Feel free to give anybody a shout out you want to.
Yeah. So we're on Agency Zoom. EasyLinks is our rater. But where we have really found helpful is Risk Advisor. I absolutely love Risk Advisor.
Nice.
It's a great platform. It's actually kind of funny because I think it's specifically designated for using it to get information to your VA. That's kind of the original mindset of it, I believe. But I've fallen in
Hmm.
love with just the process of how the information goes in. That
And the
I
forms.
yeah, in the forms, I'm gonna keep it, and I just love entering information in that way. We
Yep.
use Loom. For all of our, I mean, all of our video, all of our quotes get a video sent out with them. So we use a Loom for
There you go.
every single quote, and then just texting and those type of things. So we're not crazy, but I think for rural Oklahoma, we are very tech driven compared to most agencies. So
Cool. Who's your VoIP?
we use Nerd Phone.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay. Don't
yeah,
hear that one very often. What do you like
yeah.
about them?
They're just really easy to work with. I've never had any problems with them, and I'm very big on keeping costs as low as possible, and they are very friendly on the cost department.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good deal, man. As we kind of land the plane, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you wanted to? Any topic that really has your interest right now?
Yeah, I something I always talk about on these podcasts, I feel like, is just asking the question. I think a lot of young people in general and then new agents get afraid of asking the question. And I remember when I first started in this kind of space, the independent space, I was so nervous because I was in, Oklahoma. I didn't know anyone in the area. No one in my family is in business. All my family's educators. So I had no one to go to. And I just started asking agents. I would get on Facebook and find an agent that made a post that I found interesting. And I would say, hey, do you have 15 minutes to talk? And just asking that question has opened so many doors for me and led to so many conversations that have grown my business that I can't stress enough to new agents, people coming over from captive to independent, ask the question because there's so many agents out there that are so rich in knowledge that it would be dumb not to. I always make the joke that if I'm talking to an insurance agent who has had an agency longer than I've been alive, I would be a complete idiot not to at least try to set up a time to talk to them for 10 or 15 minutes and just be what do you recommend? What are you seeing in the industry? Those type of things because they have so much knowledge and they're all I've not ran into a single agent yet that's not willing to help me out.
Love it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever in my entire career said, thank you for calling me and asking me a question. I don't really want to talk to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's such a foreign thing because so many people helped me out.
Yeah.
When I came over from Farmers in 2019, when I was in IAOA, when IAOA was still a thing.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mavericks. Thank you, Teresa Kitchens.
Yeah.
I was the one asking all the questions for months
hmm
and months and months. I wore those folks out.
Yeah.
And at some point, it started to slowly change where it was like, oh, I know the answers to some of these questions now. Oh, cool. And
Yeah.
then, a few months later, a year later, it's like, oh, people are coming to me and asking me, oh, I'm getting asked questions now.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
okay, cool. And it's like this natural migration happens over the course of years where you go from asking all the questions to a good mix to start answering some of them. And next thing you're hosting a podcast and,
Yeah.
telling everybody what you think. And for some crazy reason, people actually listen.
Yeah.
Because, I guess it's relevant to 170 something episodes in at this point. But I love your take, man. It's so humble. It's so grounded that you would have already figured that out this early in your career. That's bravo, dude.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. It's because I'm not the smartest guy, but I'm definitely going to give it a try, right? And if I can't figure it out, I'm going to find somewhere that can find it out for me. I pride myself on being resourceful, and the other agents in the industry are a resource you can use to just further
Oh,
your career.
absolutely. And the moment that you realize that there's so much business to go around,
Yeah.
and that you can tell someone all of your secrets,
Mhm.
100% of them, not hold anything back, and tell your secrets in great detail. And 95% of the people out there will listen to you, go, "Oh, that's cool. Awesome. I can't believe you're doing that." And they'll leave the conversation and never implement anything.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy that you say that because you talk to so many people and they're like, I talked to this guy and he had this idea, but they just never follow through with it. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think that, and like you said, there's enough business to go around. Like especially in,
So much business.
I had an agent when I first started out. He was a big agent. I'm not even going to say his name, but he was not the most nice to me when I first started independent. One of the very first calls I did, and he was like, "How are you going to grow a business in a town of 8,000 people?" And I said, I am not an expert in this, but if I insure half of those people in my town, I'll be good. And so it was one of those moments where I was just like, I'm gonna make it happen, and I think that he had a different mindset than me. So
Well, clearly he's starting to be wrong. So
yeah, clearly.
love it, man. What's the best way for someone to get a hold of you? What's your platform of choice, dude?
Yeah, so you can reach out to me on any social. Facebook, obviously Maverick Pitchford. Instagram, Maverick, or it's Mav_Bison Ridge. Same thing at all the other ones as well.
Did you fill out that guest information form after you signed up for your time?
I think I may have the first time. I can redo it if need be.
Yeah, I'll check with my team and we'll get that and put all your information in the show notes if somebody wants to connect with you. So if you want to reach out to Maverick, then check the show notes and we'll have all of his stuff down there for you. Any final thoughts here, dude?
No, man, I appreciate it. I think that what you're doing is awesome. Like I said, when I started out, if I would have known this was here, I would have been listening from the very start because it's a valuable resource to anyone making the switch. It's a scary time, but you just have to make the leap, and there's going to be a lot of resources and people that are willing to help you out.
Man, I feel spoiled rotten, honestly, that I get to have so many conversations with, high performance, driven, eager people, because if you don't think that I'm, synthesizing this data from all these questions that I get to ask and the answers that people have, I learn just as much as anybody in my audience does. It's a beautiful thing we've been able to create together.
Definitely.
Man, I hope you have a great rest of your week, Maverick. Thanks so much for being here with us. And I think you are the second or third to last. You are going to be the third to last interview that we ever have for this chapter of the podcast. We may have interviews from time to time, but as by the time this episode airs, we'll already have talked about the format change that's coming. It's probably going to be in November if I had to guess, because and now as I'm sitting here, let me just count this out real quick. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now there's 9. So yeah, we've got through the first week of October. That's basically spoken for. So, man, it's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah,
but
well, I'm
you'll
super
be
honored.
you'll be one of the last interviews we have. And this has been a great conversation, man. I really appreciate you giving us some of your valuable time today. And we'll just call it a wrap and get back to our days. Then this has been another episode of the Agency Freedom Podcast. He is Maverick Pitchford. Let's make it a great day, boys and girls. We'll talk to you again real soon. Y'all take care.